If you thought summer of 2021 was hotter than ever, you would be correct. For many of us, it was. The continental United States and many locations all around the world tied or broke heat records over the summer. It was also a year of extremes around the world. First ever rainfall on the Greenland ice cap, a historic late season wildfire. Remember the one outside of Denver? And then there was that devastating tornado outbreak in the Midwest. So how did 2021 fare? Well, NASA and NOAA have released the latest global temperature update for 2021. And here to tell us about the records that were broken, NASA climate scientist Kimberley. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So I'm glad we could have you on. So if you could just tell us, where did 2021 stand when it comes to records? What happened this past year?
So 2021 is going to rank as the sixth hottest year going back to the late 1800s. And that ties 2018, but it's also part of the last 8 years, which were the hottest 8 years on record. And that is part of this merging trend of warmer and warmer years as we move forward through climate change.
And Kimberley, we talk about, the earth warming, and obviously that's a concern. That's why you're studying this. Tell us, the big picture. What does this mean for our viewers at home, for example? Why should they care about this?
Sure. So the more the atmosphere warms and changes, the more that we're going to see kind of weird weather. So we're going to see potentially more tornadoes, more hurricanes because the seas are getting warmer. There's just going to be more energy throughout the entire system, which is going to make the weather that we're used to with, warmer summers, cooler falls and springs really different year to year. And it's going to be harder to predict as well.
So you mean like hotter summers, colder winters, that kind of thing?
Potentially, hotter summers, maybe even a little bit warmer winters with some punctuated precipitation like you saw in the Sierras this winter. We're just going to be seeing more and more extremes on both ends of the spectrum and a little bit less of that normal median weather that we're used to.
Yeah, it's interesting, Kimberly. We cover weather a lot. Obviously here we talked about the record snowfall in the Sierra over the month of December, and we say record broken again and again. So we almost sound like broken records talking about the records, but that's really important to note, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm feeling the same way. We're starting to feel like a broken record every time we say this is a new event or this is a 100-year event. And I think that we're going to be seeing more and more of these happening. We may have to come up with some new vocabulary.
Right. And as a climate scientist, obviously, you're dedicated to this. For people at home who hear about this regularly, is there anything us normal folks can do?
Well, what I always like to suggest is, even just doing the small scale things in our neighborhoods, things that Californians are really great at, like planting pollinator plants, going to farmers markets, trying to walk instead of drive. But what's really, really important is going to be writing letters and being an active participant of the democracy that you're a part of.
Okay. Yeah, it's trying to see, these climate action plans put into place in our communities and then beyond. We know it's a global thing, obviously. So how are you at NASA, NOAA, studying all of this? I know you have constantly new technology that's been going out.
Yeah, so we have two really interesting new satellites. We just launched the Landsat 9. That's NASA and USGS together. And then NOAA is launching the GOES-T satellite. So basically what satellites do is they give us this big vantage point of being in space and looking at the Earth. And it gives us a much better understanding of what's going on globally. The Landsat program has been going for almost 50 years, which means that we have a record starting in, 50 years ago, all the way through to present time. And that gives us really good high scale information that we can use to help predict the future. And GOES-T and other NOAA satellites are also monitoring the weather and making forecasts so that hopefully we'll get to the point where we're able to predict some of these really severe events well before they happen and give people a little bit more of an early warning.
Yeah, Kimberly, I know with us covering weather, we're used to seeing these satellite images, and that's what helps, provide people's daily weather. But you guys are looking at it this more bigger scale, the climate overall. So it's important technology that we have that's available. What do you expect to see? Now we are in 2022. What are you looking at, for the future? What type of global events might we see?
Well, one of the things that I'm interested in is both the North and the South Pole. So we're looking at the Thwaites Glacier in Antarctica and whether or not that glacier might be lost and moved into the ocean, which means that we might see global seas rise, and that could be a concern. We're also really concerned about the droughts on the west coast of the U.S., as I'm sure everyone who watches this program is, and any kind of emergent heat wave. It seems like every summer we're having more and more heat waves. So we're definitely tracking that and the way that it's impacting the ecosystems both on land and in the ocean, because we have to remember that the ocean is a really important ecosystem that impacts everything that we do day to day, especially on the West Coast.
Yeah. Kimberly, thank you so much for the work you're doing, keeping us informed in all of this. Where can people learn more?
Yeah, thanks so much for asking. So NASA has awesome resources online. You can find out more at nasa.gov. NASA.gov/Earth has specific information about what we're studying for the Earth. As you know, we also look at Mars and Jupiter's moons, but all of the Earth information is really high quality and it can answer so many questions. So I really encourage people to check it out.
Kimberley Minor, climate scientist, we appreciate your time and all the incredible work that you and your team are doing. The Twitter feed, by the way, is fascinating. It's a fun one to watch there with NASA. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.